And welcome into This Life Matters. I am Drew, and this is Gigi.
Hi
Just,
there.
just in case you may have forgotten, it has been a long time. It's been actually a couple of years since we've gotten a chance to do This Life
hmm
Matters. And right now, we are in a place where I feel it is really important for us to do something of this nature. So we got together and decided we've got to talk to you today because this life matters, and what we do and what we've always done is just we've tried to encourage you, give you a little bit of I guess encouragement is the word I'm looking for, but give you a
Yeah.
piece of knowledge that we have and just share our feelings and emotions about things and just give you something to move forward with. And right now our country is in a state of crisis, you would say, with this pandemic. So Gigi, where do we start with this?
Well, I want to tell everybody hello again because it's been a while and I've missed you and I hope you've missed us. I've already had a few people that know we're coming back on the air and are encouraged by that. I got excited to get back with Drew on This Life Matters after being asked to be a guest on another podcast the other day. And I thought, hey, we're why aren't we doing this again? Why did we stop? But we did, and now we're back.
Yeah.
So, and I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Drew's in Washington State.
Yes, Vancouver, Washington, right outside
Van-
of Portland. Yeah.
That's right. So his state has seen the impact sooner than Oklahoma of the. I even hate to give it a name, but we all know what we're talking about. I call it the C-19, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't like to use the whole name. But and my family, my husband and I, we were in Europe a few weeks ago, so we saw firsthand what was starting there, and we knew it would be coming here. So when we came back, we're not really surprised about all this. But I thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about how people are feeling, how people. I'm a licensed professional counselor in Tulsa, and so I have clients. I'm doing telehealth right now. I'm not in the office, and I have a variety of people for clients, and I've had some say, "Oh, well, by next week we'll be back in our in the office again." And I'm thinking, "No, we won't."
Right.
And then other people have thought, "Well, I don't want to try this telehealth thing," but eventually they all are coming around to it.
Yeah.
So, what I've noticed a lot of, Drew, is people are having a lot of fear of the unknown, fear of the future, things like that. What have you noticed being there and ahead of our curve here in Oklahoma? What have you noticed?
Same thing. A lot of fear and a lot of just community support. Like I've seen a lot of in my circles, I've seen people gather in a way to say, okay, we're gonna obey what the health officials are saying. Living in this district or living in this portion of the United States, a lot of people here firmly believe in science, and so what science says usually goes. And
Mm.
so there are a lot of people who are responding really swiftly to science and saying, okay, if they tell us to distance, will distance. In Seattle, what my son was reporting, seeing was like that there was a lot more people out and about. However, both Seattle and Portland have large homeless communities. And so the everyday traffic doesn't appear sometimes, foot traffic doesn't appear to stop. And
Mm.
so these communities um, have shut down for the most part voluntarily. People have gone out and gone on hikes and done all the other things to stop cabin fever. But this week is the first official week of mandatory stay at home, and I think we're well prepared. The stores, did everything to make sure that they stayed well stocked. They closed and opened back up and did everything that they were supposed to do. So I think most people are prepared here to stay at home this week.
So when things first started happening there, did people rush to the grocery
Oh
store
yeah,
and hoard?
yeah.
Has that stopped
No,
pretty much? And
the only thing, so they hoarded everything that can't, and the funny thing is everything that can't be replaced that we need. Like for example, I need mask, but you're not getting any more mask. You're not getting. I need rubbing alcohol just for basic. There's no rubbing alcohol, no mask, no gloves. Those things are gone. Toilet paper is being distributed through the stores where they're not just putting it out and you fight. It's being handed out per customer with limits.
yeah.
And so no one can really explain the shortage of toilet paper.
Oh, I know that's happening here too, and it just, of course, we just started in on this. And the other thing I noticed about a week and a half ago is when I personally last went to the grocery store. My husband has been going. Oh, a side note. Now Oklahoma, in Tulsa, we have elderly hours for shopping. I don't know if you
Hmm.
do or not,
Yep.
but it's like the first hour. And so the first day of that, he got up and went to one of the big grocery stores at 6 a.m. Then he went through a drive-through bagel place and sat in the parking lot and had breakfast. And then he went over to Whole Foods where they opened at 7 o'clock in the morning. But I personally haven't been back to a grocery store because I haven't needed it. He's gone or whatever. But I noticed the things that were missing then. So a week and a half ago, toilet paper and paper towels, of course, hand sanitizer, flour,
Really?
flour and sugar was getting picked over, and a few boxes of the cereal like Cheerios, and then the kind of orange juice that I like was gone. Those were the only things that I actually noticed in the
Yeah.
store. So I thought that when I saw the flour, I thought, what's the deal with the flour being gone? So
Mm.
I guess people are thinking they're going to bake more.
Yeah.
And I have even heard people say, oh, you know how when you go to college, they say you gain the freshman 15?
Yeah.
And I've heard people say there's going to be the COVID 15.
I, I believe that it will be. I mean, it's you're going to be isolated, isolated, and some people need that motivation that comes from being in a gym or being around other
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you won't get a chance to, you won't
Mm-mm.
exercise as much at home, especially when you're watching. Like for me, I was watching the news, and they were like, and don't forget to buy snacks that guilty pleasure snacks during this time because you deserve it. And I fell for that trick. I was like, let me get some chocolate. I
Yeah.
deserve it. And,
Yeah.
and so I think a lot of people are gonna gain a lot of weight. And I think what's gonna happen after this is what's important for people to prepare for the mentally for getting back out into public. Maybe you've gained a few pounds that you just lost from your New Year's resolution.
Right.
um all rushing back to the gym and rushing back into just regular everyday life when things will be a little bit different is going to be an odd thing. I have had to shed I pastor a church that is primarily older people. um so the majority of my church members are over 60, and we had to close down, and we'll continue to be closed throughout the month of April. And so that means we will not have Easter service. I know
Right.
the president was asking for it and pushing for it, but uh,
Right.
but we
Yeah.
won't be having Easter service, Palm Sunday. All those things are just, we're not going to be able to celebrate, and we're going to have to try to figure unique ways to do that online. And
Yeah.
we're running across communion and rethinking things. So we're
Mm-hmm.
entering into the virtual reality age of the church.
Right.
And that's a unique thing to help people emotionally get used to the idea that some of their spirituality is going to be they're going to get it in a different way.
I know. I read one comment by a pastor here that it was, well, you can miss church 1 or 2 weeks. And I thought, you can miss church all the time if you really want to. That doesn't
Right.
just not, if you don't go to church, that doesn't mean you're going to hell. So, I thought, get a grip here because this is going to be different. So, being there and talking about fear in people, you've talked to people that have
Yeah.
felt that, and how are they dealing with it? Because what I've noticed is I've sort of combined two things together with what I think is going on with people, and that is uh, also an element of grieving over the things that we are giving up, the losses that we feel, say people not being able to see their other family members, not being able to travel. Well, in Oklahoma, let me tell you, they didn't miss a step with spring break. There were lots of people that went on spring break. And because, oh, well, we've already paid for it. And if it
Right.
hadn't been canceled by the airlines or something else, they went on spring break, as evidenced with people that went to Mardi Gras in Louisiana now. And that's just another hotspot of the outbreak. So there's a lot of losses, I think, that people are feeling. And we tend to, in the United States especially, I think a lot of people, maybe, we think, oh, we're the best. We have all the, I mean, let's face it, almost everybody, a lot of people, but we do have a lot here. Most people are not going hungry. There's a lot of people that do go hungry and they don't have the right housing and they don't have enough food. They don't have the right clothes. But all in all, our country is one of the most prosperous countries in the world. And we have gotten used to all the luxuries that that brings. And we've become kind of jaded about, and entitled to those things. And then when we have to give those up, that doesn't feel good. Last night, I myself fell to this because I'm over the age that is called in the vulnerable population, even though I don't have any underlying health issues. And I haven't been out of the house really that much. I've really had a great time. I'm right on that introvert extrovert line where I can go either
Yeah.
way. So I've kind of liked it. Actually, it's been kind of heavenly for me. But uh, but yesterday, the governor of Oklahoma said, and didn't do it in every county. We have 77 counties. He only did it in 17 counties, and he said that we're on lockdown, and I kind of got a little bit mad. I got a little bit angry. I was a little bit thinking, well, this isn't right. Well, I had never gone out of the house anyway for a week and a half. I don't know what I was doing. And then I got to thinking about a friend of mine that's going through a really difficult time. And I thought, get a grip. You don't have anything to get mad about. And that's all it took for me
Right.
was to
Well,
think, and I don't mean we need to think about all these everybody that's in worse shape. That's just what it took for
right.
me personally. That's all.
I think so. One of the things that I've noticed in speaking with, especially individuals in the boomer generation, there's already a issue with letting go of some of the positions of power that they've had. And so when you've lived a life where it's been centered around, especially, and there's certain demographics. I'm not going to make this isn't a race thing, but like in
No.
certain demographics, you could say like if you're a white male who's 65 or
Mm-hmm.
70 and you've been told you can't do something in America, that's tough for them because
And it's
they
tough for women too. It's
well,
tough for women, and it's because women of a certain age too feel invisible anyway, and then you know,
then to be
but
restricted. Yeah.
and then be restricted even more. I'm just lucky that I'm in a profession that I can do it from my home and I can still see clients that way. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are coping with that. And then to have to sit back and watch a lot of the jobs being done um, and leadership positions being passed on to to those who are able to do it, who aren't at risk. That is a very difficult position. I think for me, I've had to lead through that space with it as much as I could kindly. Like I've had to
Hmm.
explain to people, I'm not moving you out the way, but at this point, I have to take on this because I
Yeah.
can, according to what we know. But on the flip end of that, I think there's a false sense of safety also amongst individuals who are, let's just say, I'm a part of like that older millennial. I'm on I was born in 81, so 80, 81, we're that older end of the millennial generation.
Right.
And we do feel a false sense of safety because our age range isn't saying that we're at risk. But as the
Uh-huh.
numbers are revealed and the more we're seeing these deaths,
Hmm.
yes, people, 60 and older may be a lot more vulnerable, or 55 and older, but we're still vulnerable as well. And we
That's
are
right.
seeing young people pass away from this who may have had that feeling of invincibility that most young people have always been allowed to have,
Hmm.
especially in our country. And so when we talk about mourning that and dealing with that, like coping with that you're losing that sense of invincibility, which and now you have to journey into a healthy space of understanding your boundaries and understanding you are
Hmm.
human. You do have to do what everyone else has to do. Wash your hands, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Wash off cash that you get or
Yeah,
your newspaper, plastic bags. I mean, there's a lot of do your um, gas pump with paper towels. I mean, when you
yeah.
start to think about all the things that we touch, it is just kind of overwhelming to do that. So yeah, that's something that I actually hadn't thought about, that aspect of what you said about people having to give up. Um, I think about having to give up physical things that I can't do anymore, and that's hard. That is hard too. But then, so I see the only perk of this whole thing for me is that we get to go do shopping an hour earlier than anybody else.
Yeah.
That's the only perk I'm seeing.
I, from my perspective, I do actually enjoy, the idea that we do get a chance to step into leadership positions that I think for a long time people didn't think maybe some people from our generation could do. And I am enjoying seeing some of the things that Generation X and millennials are starting to just pop up and say, hey, maybe we should, like, I'm a part of this gift card program. It was just an idea. And someone said, like, let's get gift cards out to people as soon as we can because people are going to get laid off. And we were two
Uh huh.
steps ahead of the curve. And now we've been able to help people in the community. And, and it's unconventional. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like, let's wait, let's see, and then let's develop a package and let's have some meetings about where the money should go. It's like, nope, let's raise money now. And it's through social media, through
Right.
crowdfunding, and all these different things. We're using the technology properly. I'm very scared of what's going to happen to us mentally with the amount of Facebook and amount of Instagram and TikTok and all these things we're putting
Yeah.
into us. Remember, we talked a few years ago, 5 years ago, our favorite term was no socializing.
Right.
And now that's going to be due to, you could imagine, we fast forwarded socializing now being a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with this pandemic, we fast forward that multiple years because everyone's glued to their sense of community being virtual. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, how are we going to return back into spaces healthy and have contact with one another?
Gosh, that's a good question. I guess we'll have to see. But on one hand, look at it. We've started our program,
Right.
and we didn't do that before. So there are some good things I think that could happen. Um, Ways that people are having to come up with different ways of thinking and dealing with things. That leads into a topic that I want to move to, and that is moving through this and coping with it. Something to remind ourselves of is resilience is one of the key factors in coping and being healthy and recovering. And all I so I'd like people to think about what are the good things that I have right now? Because we can name something, even if we are uh, not feeling well or we can't go out. I mean, for the majority of people in the country, it's that we are on lockdown.
Yeah.
A lot of people have lost their jobs, but in spite of are the three words that I'd like for us to think about today. And that is, in spite of whatever it is that's going on with me, I still am able to whatever it is. In spite of me being elderly, quote, elderly, and not
That's
being
hard
able
to
to
say.
get,
That's
it's so hard for me to say because I don't believe it.
right.
I mean, when I won't say what my age is, but I still feel 26. So that doesn't feel elderly to me, you know. But in spite of that, I still am getting to do this with you because of the internet. I still have contact with all my daughters wherever they live. I still have friends. The sun's shining. I could get out today and work and pick weeds in my garden. I have enough to eat in spite of. We all have those things. So I'd like for people to think about, in spite of whatever the negative is, think of one positive.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that encourages me during this time is taking the time to be quiet.
Yeah.
Taking the time to reset, have a recess away from the madness of what's going on in this world. This is a time where even if you want to busy yourself, you get like last week. It's like, oh, I got to do. But this week, it's even more restriction. And
Yeah.
before you know it, it's like, after a week of being restricted, you'll find yourself just at some point meditate. At
Mm-hmm.
some point, let your mind be at rest and take advantage of the opportunity that you have a chance because the earth is resting right now due to this,
Yes,
and
it
that's a
is.
positive. Like we are going to have some better weather patterns because of less going, small going into
Mm-hmm.
the atmosphere. We're going to start hearing some and some insects and some other things that we didn't hear before, and we're going to start seeing some things differently. I believe that, and
Yeah.
I really honestly know that um, we have to get rest right alongside the earth, and we're going to have to let our soul get some reconnection into a deeper place during this time. And that's something that is the brightest side to me of all of this, is that we get a chance to actually, as a society, press the pause button. And I hate that it's at the detriment of people. I hate that people are dying and people are getting sick. Um, but let's be as healthy as we can, and let's come out of this more healthier, more, I guess that the way you could say it, more healthier. But so
Something's going on with our audio because you just froze up a little bit, but it's
yeah,
back now, I guess.
I'll check.
Um, okay. Um, well, I'd like to encourage people also to look online at some of the good things that are out there. Like I know that the Deepak Chopra Center has a free 21-day meditation now about hope. And there's a lot of things online that you can access that are very positive and will help you do some of this quietness and thinking and meditation.
Definitely. And find an old archive of This Life Matters shows. You could do that too.
That's right.
It's always something.
Well, that's right. One of the things that this anxiety producing time is to remember about your breath. That is the key for life, for uh, dissipating anxiety. And so, just a short thing that you can do is just feel where you are. If you're standing, if you're sitting, if you're lying down in bed, feel your body where it is. Feel the chair maybe holding you up, and concentrate on that. Concentrate on feeling your body in touch with whatever it's feeling, whether it's the earth beneath your feet. Go out and walk in the grass or sitting in a chair. Feel that and then breathe. Take a breath in and let it out. Do that a couple of times, and then take a breath in to the count of 4, hold it for 4, and let it out for 6. When you let it out longer than you breathe in, that's when your blood's oxygenated. So do that, and think about there's a YouTube meditation that I have my clients do. It's on YouTube. It's called Life Light Counseling with 2 L's, because it's from Great Britain. And he's got a practice in London, but he's Scottish, so his voice is Scottish. And it's the 15-minute body scan meditation. And I really like that when I use it myself, and I ask my clients to use it. And it'll teach you about breathing, and he takes you through your body parts, and he says it's okay if you wander off, just bring it back to your breath. So that's one of the techniques you could do today, and find it on YouTube, and there's many on YouTube that you could use. So that would be the other thing that I would think would be very helpful, is to think about, am I thinking about fear-based thinking, or am I thinking about love? There's a difference when we think with our fear or with love, and think in spite of whatever the negative is, think of a positive. It doesn't matter. It could be the sun shining. I mean, it can be anything. And then also think about your breath and doing some mindfulness, or some meditation, or body awareness breathing techniques. Those would be my recommendations for getting through this.
Well, those are good recommendations. I certainly will follow some of those and look them up. As you guys know about This Life Matters, you know that me and Gigi have always there's always a few differences between the two of us, but we
Oh yeah,
often come together and on these things. And I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with everything that she's saying as far as coping as a way of dealing with this. And we want you to just be happy. We want you to be healthy. We want you to come out of this journey, regardless of what your background is, who you are. These are good tips that you could use to get yourself grounded. And we just really encourage you to do that. From a spiritual standpoint, like from as a Christian leader, I kind of just view it as this is a time to meditate. This is not a time to ignore that and view that as not. This is a perfect time to meditate, not only quiet yourself and listen to yourself and listen to your body. But I believe that this is a time that you can also listen to God. And so
mm-hmm.
take the time to hear what it is that God has to say to you during this time of rest, and just be encouraged, because I was watching the news today, and I had to set boundaries, self boundary, within
Yes,
myself. I had to tell myself I got enough information to know what's going on. Now cut it off. I
that's
don't
exactly right.
I
Yeah,
don't
we
need this
don't
cycle.
we don't we if we listen to news 2 times a day for 15 minutes, that's actually all we need. And our children don't need to be hearing this either all the time, because it's too frightening. If we get all jacked up over it, think what it does to them. So let's be careful about how we language to our children, how we language to each other. We can jack ourselves way out of bounds if we let it happen. And watching the news all the time is one of the ways that we do that. So think about that too. Be careful with that.
All right. Well, I think that's about it for us today, then, huh? Just a
Yep, I guess so.
quick in and out. We're reaching about the 30-minute mark. We'll be back to give you more helpful advice and other things. This is a time where this is needed, and we know this life matters, and we can't remain silent during a time like this, because if we do that, then we cease to matter. I'm really
That's right.
just I'm stepping all over MLK's quote, but but you get
Yeah,
the gist of it.
that's
So,
right.
uh, thank you guys for listening. We absolutely, I can say I love you for listening. And like I've always said, hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that.
That's right. So that's it for today. Listen to us next time on This Life Matters. Follow us on Facebook, and we'll see you next time on the radio.